Good evening and a very warm welcome to your English news package with radio and television for the hour. Making headlines, a 26-year-old man from Hauloto passed away last Friday as a result of suicide. Fonuale volcano to be mapped within the next 2 months as part of preparation in case another volcanic eruption might occur. And the Tonga Fire and Emergency Services working to oust an ongoing fire incident at the Tapuhia Solid Waste Management Facility in Laini. We'll have these and more stories later on in the bulletin together with sports. Now with the stories in details. As we approach the 10th of September this Saturday to mark World Suicide Prevention Day, Tonga has recorded another suicide case after a 26-year-old man from Hauloto took his own life last Friday. This was confirmed by Deputy Police Commissioner David Vailea. He says the police investigation isn't ready yet and they are still looking for the motive behind his suicide. He also says that a post-mortem will be conducted as soon as possible. Vailea said that suicide cases are on the rise and that they are working with relevant stakeholders to minimize or prevent suicide. During the Whole House Committee deliberation in Parliament today, the Ewa Noble representative suggested that the Land Act be reviewed since many Tongan people are using land mortgages or using land to secure a loan. This comes after numerous land court cases reported in the Attorney General offices and reports of 2017, 2020 and 2021. The Noble's representative of Ewa, Lord Nuku, said that the Constitution states that the Land Board but the Land Act allows land to be mortgaged to secure a loan, and there are instances where the loanee can't pay back their loan, meaning the bank will get the land and sell to somebody else. The Deputy Prime Minister, who is also the Minister of Law, Sami Waipulu, said that before 1990 mortgages weren't allowed in Tonga. However, ever since the Land Act was passed in recent years, many people began mortgaging land. The Whole House Committee went into a break before discussions were completed. Tonga Geology Services will map out and survey the Fonuale volcano in the next 2 months as part of preparation in case of another volcanic eruption like the Hungahapa eruption in January. Mark Age with the details.
Geologist Daniela Kula said that as a result of the circulation of images of the Fonuale volcano and sulfur discoloration on social media, it is understood that people are still concerned and cautious of another volcanic eruption happening, and this is why they are mapping out the volcano. Daniela Kula also explained that like the Hungahapa incident, mapping and surveying began 2 months prior to its eruption in January. He says that at the moment there is a smell of sulfur around the coastal areas of Fonuale, which is 70 kilometers away from Mova'o, and if people from Mova'o report that they can smell the sulfur, then they will issue an alert or warning because that is a sign it will erupt. Kula also explained that last November the Hungahapa volcano began blowing out smoke, then fire in December before erupting this January, 2 months since it became active, and that within the next months they will monitor the Fonuale volcano. The Fonuale volcano has begun depositing sulfur, however this is a common occurrence that has happened before, in 1998, 1990, 2002 and 2006. Unlike Fonuale, the Hungahapa volcano's sulfur deposits were noticeable from Tongatapu, while people in Mova'o can't smell the sulfur from Fonuale.
The Tonga Fire and Emergency Services received a report last night of a fire at 9 p.m. at the Tapuhia Waste Landfill, and as of recording, this fire is ongoing. Mark Age again with more on this story.
The acting fire commissioner, Sina Nuku'alofa, told radio and television Tonga News this morning the fire incident occurred at the garbage dump site at Tapuhia in the northern sides of the waste landfill. About 48 firefighters were sent to Tapuhia, assisted by an emergency team, as well as staff from the Geology Services and the National Emergency Management Office. Over 500,000 liters of water has been trucked to the site, which was smoldering and emitting toxic fumes this morning. Kauwaka added, at this point they are trying to extinguish the fire and then the cause will be investigated. An excavator was brought in to help move and dismantle the rubbish so they are able to hose down the flames. Tonga Fire Services suspected this fire incident occurred from chemicals and gas from the garbage. Kawaka added that a landfill fire of this magnitude will probably take longer than expected to eliminate. As of recording, they are still working on the incident to ensure it does not spread to the other landfill.
The Honorable Prime Minister Hogamamiliku will join other Pacific leaders in a summit in Washington, D.C., as U.S. hosted by the U.S. President Joe Biden later this month. The summit will take place on September the 28th and run until the 29th. Radio New Zealand International reported that the White House believes that this summit will reflect the United States broadening and deepening cooperation on key issues such as climate change, pandemic response, economic recovery, maritime security, environmental protection, and advancing a free and open Indo-Pacific. An administration official said the Biden administration had invited 12 Pacific Islands countries, including Solomon Islands, which in April struck a security pact with China, heightening Washington's concern about Beijing's growing influence. The Federated States of Micronesia, Kiribati, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, Samoa, Tonga, and Fiji were invited, as well as the Marshall Islands, Nauru, Palau, and Tuvalu, which Taiwan counts among its 14 diplomatic allies. The United States has not invited the Cook Islands, Niue, New Caledonia, or French Polynesia. The White House did not provide details on which countries had confirmed attendance for the summit, which had been signaled as a priority by the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, Wendy Sherman, during a trip to the region in August. During that trip, Solomon Islands Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare skipped a planned appeared with Sherman at a World War II commemoration, and later that month, his government did not respond to a U.S. Coast Guard vessel's request to refuel. The United States has stepped in engagement with Pacific Island countries under Biden, sending several senior official delegations and announcing plans to open embassies in the Solomon Islands, Kiribati, and Tonga. Reporting for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Alice Tupo. And the Chief Inspector Sokopeti Falitau, who is also the chair of the Tonga Police Women's Advisory Network, and Senior Constable Abkale Tangi, represented Tonga police women at the Pacific Islands Chiefs of Police, or PICP, at the Women's Advisory Network Conference in Nandi, Fiji, that was held on the 22nd to the 23rd of August 2022. Women's Advisory Network provides a platform for Pacific women in policing to come together in friendship, respect, and collaboration to share ideas and discuss priorities and actions to support gender equity in Pacific police services, purposely programmed to precede Police Chiefs Annual Conference every year, where relevant outcomes from this year's shared theme of workforce, well-being, and resilience were presented to the police chiefs at their conference to consider. Chief Inspector Falitau stressed that the two-day workshop exchange of positive ideas and good practices on the theme reflect one of the principles underpinning Women's Advisory Network, that making policing better for women makes policing better for all. She adds that they shared their respective challenges to well-being and resilience of women in the workforce and how each country addresses or works around those challenges. What was common in the deliberation is that not only that Women's Advisory Network must remain a strong support system for women in the workplace, but it should also work to support chiefs realize their respective goals on workforce, well-being, and resilience. Tonga Police acknowledges the Pacific Islands Chiefs of Police Secretariat, and in particular the Fiji Police Force, for the warm hospitality in hosting the annual conferences. The two Tonga police women, Falitau and Tangi, had also attended, prior to Women's Advisory Network, the regional ending of gender-based violence against women and services symposium that was held in Nandi on the 17th to the 19th of August 2022. They were among other Tongan officials from government, civil society and community organizations who represented Tonga in this Pacific event, coordinated by UN Women to promote gender equality, prevention of violence against women and girls, and increasing access to quality response services for survivors. Faridao shared that the statistics puts our Blue Pacific at the highest rates of violence against women and girls recorded in the world. She adds that this is an issue that requires a whole of government and community approach. It is about building on the foundations already in place and working in partnership to bring results for Tonga's women and girls affected. Reporting for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Ali Situpo. Sports is up next with Mark Ake, and it is kindly sponsored by Pacific Timber and Hardware.
Round 4 of the TFAU futsal tournament was nothing short of exciting. There were upsets and comprehensive wins throughout the round last Saturday at the Atele Indoor Stadium. In the under-14 girls division, Nuku'alofa smashed Ha'alalo 12-0 and Isileli Kapeta beat Ha'alalo 3-0. The sole under-19 boys fixture was a nail-biter between Nuku'alofa and Ha'asydney. Nuku'alofa barely managed to beat Ha'asydney 6-5. Majority of Saturday's matches were the under-14 boys division, which saw Nuku'alofa 1 beat Nuku 5-0. Longoteme over Ha'alalo 4-1. Longoteme over Fuamotu 3-1. Ha'ateho 1 beat Ha'alalo 3-0. Isileli Kapeta over Vaini 2 4-0. Loto Ha'apai over Fa'ahefa 6-1. Fa'ahefa over Lapaha 4-1. Veitonga over Navutoka 3-1. Ha'asini hammered Loto Ha'apai 2 10-0. Ha'ateho 1 cruised past Longolongo 4-0. Fuamotu drew with Vaini 2 at 2-all. Lavinga Tonga drew with Olaha at 1-all. And Ha'ateho 2 drew with Loto Ha'apai at 0-all. Meanwhile, Vaini 1, Ha'asini, Nuku'alofa 2, Ha'ateho 3, and Nuku'alofa were the winners by default over Ahau 1, Havelu, Lapaha, Ahau 1, and Ahau 2, respectively. And in the under-16 boys division, Veitonga beat Isileli Kapeta 7-1. Folaha bagged a comfortable 6-0 victory over Longolongo. Nuku'alofa beat Nuku 4-1. Ha'ateho 1 over Homa 3-1. Loto Ha'apai beat Navutoka 8-1. Toloa over Fasimoyafia Tungi 5-0. And Fa'ahefa and Ha'ateho 2 were the winners by default over Lapaha and Ahau, respectively.
And that concludes tonight's English news package. But before we part, here's one final look at tonight's top stories. A 26-year-old man from Hauloto passed away last Friday as a result of a suicide. Fonuale volcano to be mapped within the next 2 months as part of preparation in case another volcanic eruption might occur. And the Tonga Fire and Emergency Services working to oust an ongoing fire incident at the Tapuhia Solid Waste Management Facility in Waini. And that's it for tonight. Thank you for your company. I'm Ali Situpo. Have a blessed evening.